How's it going, everyone? Back again with another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the last and final generation that I want to mention on this channel, which is, of course, the 7th generation. Now, previously, I've already talked about how I felt about the 8th and the 6th, and I think it's time for me to talk about the generation that was in between, which was the 7th. So, in those two previous videos that I mentioned, both videos had a different tone of how I felt about them because, of course, with the 8th, I didn't like it. I let you guys know why I didn't like it. And then with the 6th, it was completely opposite. I went from completely angry to very, very, very happy because I love the 6th generation. And with the 7th, straight up off the bat, it is, of course, obviously leaning towards the 6th generation in terms of me and me being happy because the 7th generation was almost as good, if not better, than the 6th generation. For me personally, it just narrowly misses it for me being my favorite, but most people consider it to be the best, and my God, guys, I will happily never knock your opinion if you think that if that's the case, because the 7th generation, oh man, far out! What an absolute paradise of a generation that we had. I absolutely loved it. It was fucking phenomenal as well. And going from the 6th generation to the 7th and the stuff that the 7th generation had to offer in terms of what I mentioned before with the 6th, how the technical innovations and the games, well, there's also something else that it brought to the table, which was absolutely the best. And I think you guys already know what it is, and get ready for it because I'm going to be talking about it for half an hour because yeah, it was just absolutely phenomenal. It was so great back then, and I'm going to talk about why it was so great back then and why it isn't really that good now. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So first thing, let's just start off with the consoles and what they were and when did they come out. So we'll start with the first one, which is, of course, the Xbox 360, which came out in November 2005. Microsoft, they really wanted to get the ball rolling in terms of the 7th generation because with the original Xbox, it was a great console, but it didn't really, it wasn't really a home run in terms of sales and popularity compared to the PlayStation 2. That it was a great console, but yeah, it definitely it was in the PlayStation 2 shadow. So they really wanted to be the first one off the market, and lucky enough, they were the first one off the market because the PlayStation and Sony, they shocked the whole world when they told us that they were going to release the PlayStation 3 a good solid year after. I think it was just a little bit shy of a year after the Xbox 360, and both consoles went off to not the best start, especially the PlayStation 3. Like, they absolutely dropped the ball with the PlayStation 3 early because from the price and the XMB and how hard it was to code, yeah, they definitely shot themselves in the foot a few times with the PlayStation 3, but over the years, it got significantly better. So those two, the Xbox and the PlayStation, definitely like to battle it out, but then out of nowhere, wow, the Nintendo Wii. What can I say about this thing? Well, first thing, if talk about an absolute David and Goliath story with this thing, because nobody in the world expected this thing to be as popular as it was, because geez, what can I say about the Wii? Because, well, I'm going to talk a little bit of backstory about me. With the Wii and the PlayStation, this is probably the only generation where I had every single console in my house. However, I didn't own the Wii. My mum owned the Wii. She bought a Wii. So we had all the consoles in the house together, and wow, like, whoever was the person who was the Nintendo Wii's advertisement strategist, whoever that is, I hope you are sleeping with hundreds of bags underneath your bed. I'm hoping you got paid big time, because the Nintendo Wii's advertisement is probably the best we have ever seen, ever, in anything, in any sort of entertainment, because that thing was so big. It catered to everyone, from people like us who play video games to specifically older people as well. That thing got my mum to buy a Wii. That's how good this advertisement strategy was with the Wii, and that shit absolutely blew up as well. So, with the free consoles, they were off to, well, the PlayStation and the Xbox were off to a bit of a rocky start with, like I said, the price, and then the Xbox Red Ring of Death. But over the times, it significantly it significantly got better with them as well. So yeah, let's just talk about this generation. It was an amazing generation, guys. My God, I fucking absolutely loved the 7th generation, specifically the start of it. In my opinion, guys, between 2007 to 2010 might be the 3 of the greatest years ever if you were someone who played video games. Never in my life, guys, have I seen so many incredible games that came out between 2007 and 2010. It was astonishing, from the completely new IPs that came out, and I'm going to talk about them soon, to the franchises that took off as well, that from the 6th and the 5th generation, and of course, the other thing that I'm going to talk about, which I'll talk about later on. And like I said, guys, you know what I'm going to talk about, so yeah, let's just get right into it. Okay, first thing, let's talk about the technical innovation, specifically one that the 7th generation had to offer, which was absolutely fantastic. Now, with the previous generations, in terms of technical innovations, they all had something to bring to the table. Like with the 5th generation, like how I said, it started 3D gaming, then the 6th generation perfected it, and now with the 7th generation, it brought something that was phenomenal. And that is, of course, the ability to play games in HD. And this was amazing, guys. When we saw what these games could look like in high definition for the very first time, it was mind-blowing how great this was. Because I remember my very first game was COD 4, and I'll be talking about that gem later on. And I remember seeing Captain Price when he picks you up from the ship, and you can see his face and how he looks. Wow, guys, it was absolutely just phenomenal. It was amazing to look at. It was so good, guys, that I still remember this, and I'll never forget it, where I remember seeing it, and I was having pretty bad headaches, and I was thinking to myself, why am I getting these headaches? Like, I normally don't get headaches. And my dad, surprisingly, and he knows nothing about video games or anything, he says to me that probably because it's the graphics, and you're not used to seeing these type of graphics and how good they are. And I'll tell you what, he was bang on the money. He was 100% right, because that was definitely the case. That the fact that we were seeing these amazing graphics that we've never seen before, and they were just absolutely, just light years ahead what we were used to seeing, gave me those type of headaches. And just HD gaming was amazing, guys. Like, seeing it for the first time, phenomenal. It was just one of the best technical innovations we've ever seen. So yeah, HD gaming, phenomenal, like life-changing. It was the best, guys, seeing our games. And it was, at the start, it was 720p. I'm pretty sure that the PlayStation, Xbox, I think the Wii as well, did not go above 720p. Like, I know you could do 1080p, but I'm pretty sure it was upscaled. You might need to quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure nearly every game's wasn't 1080p at all. Like, they were high resed up. But anyway, regardless, doesn't matter. It looked phenomenal for the time, and yeah, we were just in absolute heaven because of it. Next, let's talk about the games. Wow. Wow, what can I say about the games that came out in this amazing generation, apart from amazing, incredible, astonishing, phenomenal, blown away, life changing. Just every single positive attribute you could mention, you can say that about the games that came out in the 7th generation. Specifically, the new IPs. With the 7th generation, it came out with so many great IPs that came out in that generation. Like, I think it's the most we've ever seen between all of them. Seriously, we were absolutely blown away by how many new IPs that came out in the 7th generation. Phenomenal. Nearly all of them were phenomenal as well. Between the ones that I played and the ones that I didn't play but I heard were great, there was just so many that were just the best. So let's just talk about a few of them. I'll just mention a few. I'll just keep on going. If I forget a few, just mention them in the comment section, because there's so many that I will forget a few. So let's just start with Gears of War. Started on the Xbox 360. Started and, in my opinion, peaked with Gears 1, 2, and 3. Then you had Assassin's Creed. Started on the 7th generation with 1, 2, 3, Brotherhood, Revelations, and 3. And all of them were, apart from 3, were phenomenal. Like, that franchise started and peaked in the 7th generation. Then you had Dead Space. Didn't play, but I heard it was great. With 1, 2, and 3, I heard all of them were great. Then you had Mass Effect. I'm going to get a bit of hate for this. I haven't played the Mass Effect games, mainly because specific reason, but I heard they were phenomenal as well, including 3. I heard about the story. I mean the ending, but I'll figure it out soon, because I'll definitely be playing Mass Effect 3 with the trilogy that came out recently. That's the next franchise I'm going to be meant to be playing. Then you had, what else? You had Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. Phenomenal, guys. Phenomenal. Absolutely the best trilogy I think we've ever seen in our lives. It's up for debate as well between 1, 2, and 3. That franchise started and peaked in the 7th generation. Not that I don't like 4, but the first 3 were just phenomenal. Then you had The Last of Us, the first game. The first Last of Us was one of the greatest games I've ever played in my life. Phenomenal. You had Saints Row as well. Saints Row was great. You had the Mario games on the Mario. See, I'm not forgetting about the Wii. It had the Mario games like Mario Kart and Mario Sports and all. I mean Wii Sports, and they were great as well. Yeah, just phenomenal, guys. So many franchises. You had what's that other franchise? What's that exclusive PlayStation game that the I can't think of it. 1 second. Resistance, that's it. Didn't have to Google it. I remembered it as soon as Resistance. I heard Resistance was good. Yeah, just phenomenal, guys. Like, unbelievable how many great games that came out in the 7th generation, and that was just the IPs. I haven't even mentioned the games that absolutely that took off as well. Like, I'll start with Metal Gear Solid 4. Phenomenal game, absolutely phenomenal. That game was so good, guys. Like, wow. Then you had GTA 4. Oh, there is no words to describe to you guys how great GTA 4 was to me. Like, I loved it as well. It wasn't as good as the big 3, but it was great as well. What else you had? Just so many games. Sorry guys, I'm recording this after I finish this commentary, because I forgot to mention a few other games as well. Like, I don't know how I forgot to mention about God of War 3. Like, God of War 3, I just played it recently with the remastered, and that shit was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Between the boss fights and Kratos himself and the whole lore of it, just, yeah, absolutely phenomenal, guys. And it is better than God of War 2016 or 2018, whenever it came out. Also, I forgot to mention Fallout. How the hell could I forget about Fallout 3 in New Vegas? Phenomenal, guys. Some of the best games ever. I've never played a game that had so much content, that had so many quests that was just so great to play, guys. Like the gameplay wasn't so amazing, but it makes up for so many great quests and a great RPG system with both of them. And I forgot to mention Bioshock. Bioshock was great as well. That's another game I didn't really play until recently. Like I went through 1, 2, and 3, and yeah, great games, all of them. I really liked them all. What else? You had the Elder Scrolls, like you had Skyrim. Like I didn't play Skyrim, I heard it was great. You had the Resident Evil games like Resident Evil 5 and 6. They weren't the best, but they were okay. What else? You had the Batman games. Getting a lot of hate for this. I haven't played the Batman games. Sorry, I heard they were phenomenal, especially Arkham City. Like I heard Arkham City was so good. But yeah, something I haven't played. I need to play them. But one thing about me is that I just don't really play superhero games except Spider-Man. That's the only one that I really played. I'm not really a superhero person like Marvel, DC. I'm not a Superman person in general. Games, movies, yeah, it's just not for me. That's why I don't play them. But anyway, I heard they were great. Yeah, so yeah, just phenomenal, guys, and yeah, great play. You had Hitman, and you had and Max Payne 3, and those two games from the franchises were two of my favorite franchises of all time, and they were a bit underwhelming, but they were still pretty good games as well. Like Max Payne 3, because I'm going to get a bit of hate. Max Payne 3 as a first-person shooter, did I say first? I mean third, is one of the best third-person shooters of all time. But as a Max Payne game, it was definitely a step down, but it was still good. Same with Hitman Absolution. Great game, but step down, but they were still great as well. I would happily take them over a lot of the games that came out in the 8th generation. Yeah, just phenomenal, guys. Like, we were blown away by how many great games there were in the 7th generation. And granted, I didn't play all of them. I bet you a lot of you did. You can name your favorite games in the comments section. But yeah, there's a reason why I didn't get to play them, and it'll be the next thing I talk about. But yeah, you also had Heavy Rain, underrated, awesome, loved the Heavy Rain. You had Red Dead Redemption. Oh my God, Red Dead. Oh wow, the first Red Dead Redemption. Wow, I was blown away by that game, guys. Like, there's not many games. There's probably only about 7 or 8 games that I've played that give you that feeling, that feeling I'm talking about, that feeling when you're playing something that is absolutely phenomenal. Like, yeah, Red Dead Redemption was it. Yeah, so, oh, wow. So many great game, guys. And I'm specifically talking about single-player, guys. So, yeah. Let's talk about multiplayer games, guys. And how great multiplayer was. So, guys, yeah. With the multiplayer in the 7th generation, I personally believe that it is the greatest technical innovation we will ever see in our life. I don't think it'll ever get as better as multiplayer and what this brought to the table in terms of gaming. Because seriously, guys, I remember, here's a bit of a backstory with me and how I felt, because when I started playing multiplayer for the first time back in, it was a little bit later, it was around 2008 is when I started to play multiplayer games, because I had no clue about, multiplayer or anything like that, because I did not have an Xbox, so I didn't really know how to connect a console to the internet and everything like that. It took me a while before I finally got it, and me playing COD 4, which was the first multiplayer game that I played, and still to this day, I really do believe that Call of Duty 4 is the greatest multiplayer game ever, in my opinion. I seriously believe that. I've never played a game that was so innovative, so amazing, that had so many great maps, that had so many great guns, that the connections were phenomenal, the net coding was great. Like, the developers knew how to code a multiplayer game with the hit detection, next to no lag comp, everything. That's just how I feel about COD 4. One of the greatest games of all time. And I still, to this day, think it's the best. And I also feel that the games that came out in the 7th generation in terms of multiplayer were fucking light years better than the garbage that has come out in the 8th generation. Seriously, I think that COD 4, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, Halo 3, Gears of War 2, Uncharted 2, GTA 4, Battlefield Bad Company would absolutely just embarrass the garbage that is out nowadays with the 8th generation and all those fucking battle royale games and some other games or as well in the 8th generation. I seriously think that I cannot believe, guys, how bad multiplayer has been lately in the past past 5 or 7 years. Like, with the 7th generation, I don't think we'll ever see it as good ever again with the multiplayer games, because you had so many great options to play. If you did not like COD, you could go play Halo if you wanted. If you didn't have an Xbox and you didn't want to play COD, you could go play Uncharted. If you didn't want to play either of them, you could go play Battlefield. You could go play GTA 4 if you wanted, which was an underrated gem as well in terms of multiplayer. My god, it was so fun. And yeah, you had so many options to play in multiplayer that it was just unbelievable compared to it. Like, seriously, guys, I said it in my other video where I personally think that multiplayer has fallen off. I seriously think it is nowhere near as good as it used to be with COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Halo 3, Gears of War 2, Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2. Just, yeah, I seriously believe that. I've completely fallen off the multiplayer bandwagon now because the games are just nowhere near as good enough compared to the 7th generation. We were just blown away by greatness. Seriously, I remember just playing COD 4 religiously. Like, I would not get off that thing. I would be on that game for minimum 5 hours a day. Seriously, I'd get home from school. I didn't give a shit about any homework or assignments. Doesn't matter. I don't care if they were due tomorrow. I was on COD 4 religiously, playing that with all my friends from... I wouldn't consider them friends, but I was playing it with my kids in my year at my school, and it was just great. Nothing will ever beat how good that was back then, and that was just my experience. I reckon a lot of people would happily say who played Halo 3 would say that Halo 3 was just as good, if not better, than COD and all that. But I'll tell you what, guys, it doesn't matter what game you liked back then. I'm pretty sure you would happily take COD 4 or Halo or any of these games over the garbage that is out nowadays. Seriously, I cannot begin to describe to you guys how bad it has fallen off compared to it. I really wish that all these battle royale games, Fortnite, fucking all that trash, and a few others like Overwatch and Valorant and all those nothing games came out 10 years earlier. I wanted to see how popular they were and see how well they would have went if they came out during COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Halo 3, all them. So yeah, just the 7th generation was phenomenal. Multiplayer, unbelievable. We were blown away. Like, nothing will ever come close to how good it was back then. And the multiplayer scene, just phenomenal. Nothing will ever touch it, and I don't think anything will ever touch it ever again. So yeah, you know what, guys? I'm going to make another video on this. I said I was going to talk about it specifically. I might do another video specifically talking about why multiplayer is not the same anymore. So, and I'll tell you what, there's one other thing that I loved about the 7th generation, and it wasn't really the 7th generation itself. It was YouTube and the games and the gaming scene on YouTube. Like, wow, guys, those two things intertwined with each other. YouTube gaming and the 7th generation, and the videos that we saw with Halo 3, COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, all them. Like, I've just been recently looking at videos from 2010, like people playing Modern Warfare 2 back in 2010. Doesn't matter who they were, like they were either they were big or big commentators or small people who I didn't really like back then, or people who I did, or just complete randoms in particular. I'm watching this stuff, guys, and I am fucking crying at this. I absolutely loved watching these videos and what people had to say, and you know, all different personalities and everything like that. It was so good back then, between 2008, 9, and 10, and maybe a little bit further, like 11, with Black Ops 1, even though I wasn't a major fan of Black Ops 1, but it was still really good back then as well. So yeah, like the YouTube scene was another reason why the 7th generation was so good. Seeing these videos from other people, seeing the gameplay, seeing their personalities, it was so good back then. And that's another thing that's fucking garbage now, is the YouTube scene. Like, I barely watch anyone anymore. Like, or it's been dumbed down to oblivion nowadays on YouTube, with all these fucking just garbage fucking commentators, you know, doing anything for clicks, you know, having their, you know, just looking like they just came out of the receiving a discharge, you know, shift down at, I don't know, down at the red light districts with their mouths all open, looking like a bunch of whores, you know, doing anything for clicks. Like, YouTube is garbage nowadays. It is nowhere near as good as it was like 10, 15 years ago. The ability to give anyone a chance to you know, do anything for money, they'll do it, especially on YouTube. So yeah, garbage nowadays, but it was great back then. But anyway, I'm going on a bit of a tangent. I'm going to hit the road, guys. Like, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Went a bit crazy at the end, but anyway, I'll be making a continuation on the multiplayer scene. Just make a specific video on that in particular, and that will probably go for 40 minutes. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye.